everyone. This is Dr. Hardik, and today's topic is small contracted kidney. In our previous lecture, we had discussed about the basics of glomerulonephritis, various types, pathogenesis, classifications of glomerulonephritis. After that, nephrotic syndrome. What is nephrotic syndrome? How will you classify nephrotic syndrome? Which are the various causes of nephrotic syndrome, and each and every causes have discussed in detail, right? So today's topic is small contracted kidney. This topic is very important as far as concerned with your histopathology specimen viva, in which one of the specimen is of kidney, and whether there is inflammatory origin or malignant or neoplastic origin. So one of and or other group is small contracted kidney group. So you have to identify that whether it is small kidney or not, and after that you have to reach the etiology according to the features of the specimen, right? So one purpose is of histopathology specimen viva, and secondly it is most important topic for your theory, in which short note has been asked as small contracted kidney, right? So what is small contracted kidney? I have already told you that normal kidney the dimension is approximately 12 into 6 into 3 centimeter in size. And if we talk about the weight of the kidney, the normal weight of the kidney in male is 150 gram, while in female is around 125 gram, right? So any kidney which is less than the weight in male, less than 150 gram, and in female if it is one less than 125 gram, then it is a small contracted kidney. So various causes of small contracted kidney, but the three main causes are chronic pyelonephritis, chronic glomerulonephritis, benign nephrosclerosis. These are the main three causes. Apart from these three main causes, in later stage of diabetes, amyloidosis, and myeloma kidney, you will also observe small contracted kidney. So if MCQ, you have to remember that which are the causes of small contracted kidney, right? So chronic pyelonephritis, chronic glomerulonephritis, and benign nephrosclerosis, these are the main three causes. And in later stage of diabetes, amyloidosis, and myeloma kidney, you can observe small contracted kidney, right? So we will discuss one by one the three major causes. The first is chronic pyelonephritis. But before we jump onto the chronic pyelonephritis, you must aware about the what is pyelonephritis, and there are two types of pyelonephritis. One is acute pyelonephritis, and second one is chronic pyelonephritis, that is the cause of small contracted kidney. But the acute pyelonephritis is not a cause of small contracted kidney. But for your syllabus you have to understand what is acute pyelonephritis, because the specimen of acute pyelonephritis have been asked in your histopathology specimen viva in inflammatory group in kidney region, right? So acute pyelonephritis is a common suppurative inflammation of kidney and renal pelvis, right? Because acute is something related to the acute conditions, means there is a role of neutrophil, there is a suppurative inflammation. It is caused by bacterial infection. It is an important manifestation of urinary tract infections, which implies involvement of lower, means either involvement of the bladder, involvement of the prostate, or urethra. If the three are involved, one of the three uh, organ is involved, then it is a lower inflammatory tract infections. While in exactly pyelonephritis, it is a upper urinary tract infections, right? Because in which there is a involvement of the tubules and mainly interstitium. The great majority of cases of pyelonephritis are associated with infection of lower urinary tract. So clear, in pyelonephritis, there are two types of infections, whether it is acute pyelonephritis or chronic pyelonephritis. In acute pyelonephritis, again, whether it is involvement of the upper urinary tract or lower urinary tract. If involvement of the bladder, if involvement of the prostate or urethra, it related to the lower urinary tract, and if involvement of the kidney substance like interstitiums and tubules, it is upper urinary tract infections. And the majority of the pyelonephritis are associated with infection of the lower urinary tract. The latter, however, may remain localized without extending to involvement of the kidney. Right. The principal causative organisms are the enteric gram-negative routes. The most common one is E. coli. In acute pyelonephritis, the most common organisms is E. coli, followed by Proteus, Klebsiella, Enterobacter, and Pseudomonas. Sometimes Staphylococci and Streptococci faecalis may also cause pyelonephritis, but they are less common. So in this slide, uh, what is pyelonephritis? It is a suppurative inflammation. There are two types, acute chronic. In acute, again lower and upper, majority is lower urinary tract infections, and the causative organisms most common is E. coli, then Proteus, Klebsiella, Enterobacter, and Pseudomonas. The bacteria gain entry into the urinary tract and hence into the kidney via two routes. So how bacteria gain entry? With the help of two routes, whether it is ascending infection or hematogenous infection. So in ascending infections, it may enter via fecal contaminations. Female more liable because of fecal contaminations, because of small urethra, and because of hormonal influence facilitate adherence of the bacteria to mucosa and absence of prostatic secretion. Because in prostatic secretion it has property of antibacterial, so male are less prone with acute pyelonephritis than female. This is the reason, because of prostatic secretion has antibacterial property. Susceptibility is increase in patients with diabetes, pregnancy, urinary tract obstruction. So it's all about ascending infections. Now, hematogenous infections. If suppose patient is septicemic, then it is generalized. It is in blood. So septicemic patients have another route of entry into the kidney. So ascending infections and hematogenous infections. With this route, bacteria may gain entry into the kidney. In this diagram, you can see that kidney. Here you can see that lower urinary tract, here urethra, bladder, ureter. So in ascending infections, bacteria gain entry from the this urethra, from urethra in the bladder, and from bladder with the help of this reflux, vesicoureteral reflux may gain entry into the upper sides and enter into the kidney substance. And the another route is hematogenous route, means patient is septicemic, then causes are staphylococcus and E. coli, and with the blood bacteria gain entry into the kidney in case of septicemic patients. So these are the main two routes. Now talk about the morphology of acute pyelonephritis. Acute means something is related to the enlargement, something is related to the swollen. So obviously the kidney is swollen and enlarged. On cut section, small yellowish white abscess and hemorrhagic rim, and mostly seen in the cortex. So in description of the gross features, kidney is swollen and enlarged. In cut section, you will find abscess having hemorrhagic rim. Now microscopically, if you see that acute extensive inflammation of the interstitium and causing destruction of the tubules. Interstitium is a part between the tubules and the glomerulus, right? So it is an acute extensive inflammation of the interstitium. So in interstitium there are lots of neutrophils, and these not neutrophils enter into the tubules and causing destructions of it also. Large number of neutrophils in the interstitium and bursting into the tubules and may form focal abscess. So you have to concentrate in microscopically. There are two parts. One is interstitium. It is a main portions in which there is a acute inflammatory infiltrate of neutrophils, and these inflammatory infiltrate of neutrophils burst into the tubules, and there is involvement of the tubules also. Clinically, if you see the patients of acute pyelonephritis having chills with fever, lumbar pain, dysuria, and frequency of micturations. In the microscopic examination, you will find urine shows pus cell cast because lots of neutrophils in the tubules means neutrophils means pus cells. So you will find pus cell cast in case of acute pyelonephritis. If we talk about the complications, the most common is papillary necrosis, then pyelonephrosis, and perinephric abscess. So it's about morphology of acute pyelonephritis, gross and microscopically. Grossly swollen kidney, enlarged kidney. In cut section, you will find the yellowish white abscess with hemorrhagic rim. In microscopy, you have to remember that there are two portions, interstitium and tubules. It is a specimen of acute pyelonephritis. You will find that on the surface there is a yellowish white abscess, right? The kidney is swollen and enlarged, and on outer surface you will find yellowish white abscess. If you see the cut surface, you will find that the abscess, which is yellowish white in appearance, and hemorrhagic rim. So it's about acute pyelonephritis. Now come on to the topic of chronic small contracted kidney, in which the first cause is chronic pyelonephritis. So it is a chronic tubulointerstitial disease resulting from the repeated attack of inflammation and scarring. If the condition of acute pyelonephritis has not been treated properly, then repeated attack of inflammation and scarring and may convert it into the chronic pyelonephritis. Again, two main causes: reflux nephropathy means vesico-ureteral reflux, mainly seen in children, and obstructive pyelonephritis in case of renal stone or aberrant blood vessels, which leads to obstructions of the ureter and may lead to uh, urine which is seen into the kidney substance, and may lead to irritate the substance of the kidney and may lead to chronic inflammation. If we talk about the morphology of chronic pyelonephritis, grossly, yes, it is a small contracted kidney, means less than 12 into 6 into 3 centimeter in size, and the weight of the kidney in male is less than 150 gram, and in case of female it is less than 135 or 125 gram, right? So in kidney small contracted, which is less than 100 grams, showing unequal reductions. It is the most important features which help to differentiate from other causes of small contracted kidney that unequal reductions, right? Surface of the kidney is irregularly scarred, means on the surface you will see the scar and it is not a regular, it is irregular and diffuse. The capsule is adherent with scar, so difficulty in strip off. The scar shows characteristic U-shaped depression. If you see on the outer surface, you will see that, oh, there are scars. You easily identified that patients having scar on the outer surface of the kidney. Now, what is the appearance of the scar? Whether it is granular, whether it is regular, whether it is irregular, whether it is diffuse or not. But here in chronic pyelonephritis, it is diffuse. It is irregular. It is uneven. Means some scar is small, some scar is big, some scar at regular intervals, some scar at irregular intervals. Means uneven, irregular, and U-shaped distributions of the scar is characteristic of chronic pyelonephritis, and there is blunting and dilatation of the calyces and dilated pelvis of the kidney. So again the characteristic feature is blunting of renal calyces. This uneven scarring is useful in differentiating chronic pyelonephritis from more symmetrically contracted kidney. Means other two causes like chronic glomerulonephritis and benign nephrosclerosis, in which there is a symmetrical contraction of the kidney, right? While in chronic pyelonephritis is asymmetrically irregular, uneven distribution and U-shaped scar, right? The hallmark of the chronic pyelonephritis is scarring involving the pelvis and calyces or both and leading to papillary blunting and marked calyceal deformities. So it's mainly deformity in the calyceal systems. If you see that there is a blunting of calyx, here you can see the normal calyx, but here you can see that there is a blunting of calyceal system and the renal pelvis is dilated. If you see that scar, it is U-shaped scar, it is unequal distribution and it is irregular in appearance. In microscopically, you will see in the interstitium, there are mainly two portions. First is interstitium and tubules. In interstitiums, you will find that chronic inflammatory infiltrate and interstitial fibrosis. Because repeated inflammations may cause acute infection convert into chronic, and repeated infections can cause scarring or fibrosis, right? Tubules, it is atrophied and dilated. The dilated tubules often contain eosinophilic colloid cast, producing thyroidization of tubules. Here the word thyroidization is nothing but it looks like thyroid tubules because inspissated eosinophilic materials seen in the lumen of renal tubules which exactly look like thyroid tubules, and the appearance mimics of thyroid tubules, and that is the name given that thyroidization of tubules. So word thyroidizations of tubules is nothing but in the renal tubules you will find inspissated eosinophilic material into the lumen and it mimics of thyroid tubules. So thyroidization of the tubules word suggests that patient is of chronic pyelonephritis. Clinically, it is slow onset, patient present with fever, loin pain, lumbar tenderness, dysuria, and frequency of micturition. Diagnosis is made by intravenous pyelography. The dye is injected and it's seen on the radiologically, right? In X-ray. or whether it in city. Now the second cause of small contracted kidney is chronic glomerulonephritis. All the glomerulonephritis means types of glomerulonephritis at the end they all are converted into the chronic glomerulonephritis. So it is the final stage of variety of glomerular disease result in irreversible impairment of the renal function. The condition in the following order may progress to the chronic glomerulonephritis. The first condition is rapid progressive glomerulonephritis has chance to 90% converted into the chronic glomerulonephritis followed by membranous glomerulonephritis 50%, followed by membranoproliferative glomerulonephritis again 50%, followed by focal segmental glomerulonephritis again 50%, which is associated with AIDS and heroin abuse. Remember the MCQ that focal segmental glomerulonephritis is associated with HIV nephropathy and heroin abuse patient. IgA nephropathy, in which there is a 40% chance to convert into chronic glomerulonephritis. Acute post-streptococcal glomerulonephritis has 1% chance, and idiopathic has 20% chance to convert into chronic glomerulonephritis. If we talk about the morphology, please remember compare with the chronic pyelonephritis in which there is a asymmetrical reduction of the kidney, while here there is a symmetrical reduction of the both the kidney. And the small contracted kidney, yes, it's a cause of small contracted kidney, weight is 50 gram each, but here there is a symmetrical contraction of the kidney, while in chronic pyelonephritis it is asymmetrical. The capsule is adherent to the cortex. The cortical surface is diffusely granular. On cut surface, you will find the cortex is narrow, atrophic, and medulla is unremarkable. In microscopically, the changes are depending upon the underlying causes, right? Suppose patient having RPGN and may convert into the chronic pyelonephritis, then the features mainly seen is crescent formation, means proliferation of the parietal epithelial cells, right? Same way, reduction in the number, most of the completely hyalinized, acellular and eosinophilic mass, means glomeruli is completely scared, reduce in number and convert into the eosinophilic mass. If we talk about the tubules in case of chronic glomerulonephritis, many tubules completely disappeared and atrophied. In interstitium, fine delicate fibrosis and infiltration of the chronic inflammatory infiltrate. In vessels, there are changes of sclerosis. So microscopically, you will differentiate it from chronic pyelonephritis with the help of the tubules. In chronic pyelonephritis, you will find the thyroidization of the tubules, means in the lumen of the tubules, you will find that inspissated eosinophilic material, while in case of chronic glomerulonephritis, first of all, there is a completely disappearance of the tubules and atrophy of the tubules. There is no thyroidization, and the number of chronic inflammatory cells are reduced in number as compared to chronic pyelonephritis. So now I think you can easily differentiate whether the specimen of small contracted kidney, whether it is because of chronic pyelonephritis or whether it is because of chronic glomerulonephritis. In chronic pyelonephritis, U-shaped scar, uneven, irregular, and asymmetrical reduction of the kidney, while in case of chronic glomerulonephritis, it is symmetrical reduction of the kidney. And in microscopy of chronic glomerulonephritis, you will not find tubules, while in chronic pyelonephritis, you will find thyroidization of the tubules, and there is a lots of chronic inflammatory infiltrate in case of interstitium and tubules. Patient of chronic glomerulonephritis may treat with dialysis, and there are changes which is associated with dialysis are acquired cystic disease. Patients of chronic glomerulonephritis because of dialysis may converted into the adenoma and adenocarcinoma, and calcium oxalate crystals may appear into the tubule. So these are the changes which occur in case of chronic glomerulonephritis because of frequent dialysis. Again, difference, I have already narrated the difference, but if you see in this uh, slides, the first picture, with the help of proteinuria, you can differentiate because proteinuria is a mark in chronic glomerulonephritis because there is involvement of the glomerulus. And I have already told you that various type of glomerulonephritis because of injury to the basement membrane, that is proteinuria. So mark proteinuria in glomerular origin, while in pyelonephritis it is mild in nature. Primary disease, mainly in chronic glomerulonephritis, is glomerular in origin, while in chronic pyelonephritis it is tubulointerstitial. Distribution is diffuse in case of chronic glomerulonephritis, while it is patchy and irregular and unequal in chronic pyelonephritis. Involvement is symmetrical in case of chronic glomerulonephritis, while it is asymmetrical in chronic pyelonephritis. Cortical scar is fine in case of glomerular origin, while in CPN, means chronic pyelonephritis, it is patchy and U-shaped scar. If we talk about the calicial system in chronic glomerulonephritis, it is normal, but chronic pyelonephritis, which is related to the tubules and calyces, so blunting of calyces and distortion of the calyces in case of chronic pyelonephritis. Interstitial fibrosis, it is mild in nature in case of chronic glomerulonephritis, while it is marked in case of chronic pyelonephritis. Tubular atrophy is mild in nature, while it is marked in CPN, and thyroidization is absent in case of chronic glomerulonephritis, while it is present in case of chronic pyelonephritis. So till now we had discussed what is small contracted kidney, how will you define small contracted kidney, which are the various 6 causes of small contracted kidney, in which there are main 3 causes of small contracted kidney. First is chronic pyelonephritis, second one is chronic glomerulonephritis, third one is benign nephrosclerosis, and there are the 3 causes which seen in the later stage of diabetes, amyloidosis, and myeloma kidney. And what is acute pyelonephritis? And we had discussed the 2 causes, main chronic glomerulonephritis and chronic pyelonephritis. And how will you differentiate chronic glomerulonephritis from chronic pyelonephritis? And now the third main causes is benign nephrosclerosis. So what is it? The term used for the renal changes in benign hypertension is always associated with hyaline arteriosclerosis. Some degree of benign nephrosclerosis is present at autopsy in many persons older than 60 years of age, means something is age related changes. So if we see autopsy of the patients more than 60 years of age, obviously there is a changes of benign nephrosclerosis. The frequency and severity of the lesions are increased at any age when hypertension or diabetes mellitus are present. So these 2 conditions are predisposable conditions, and the patients of hypertension and diabetes are more prone to the benign nephrosclerosis, apart from the age-related changes. If we talk about the pathogenesis of the benign nephrosclerosis, many renal diseases cause hypertension, which in turn is associated with benign nephrosclerosis. These renal lesions is often seen superimposed on other primary kidney disease. Means there is a primary hypertension, patients having changes of benign nephrosclerosis. Otherwise, the patients already have some kidney disease, and superimpose this kidney disease, there is a more chances of benign nephrosclerosis. Similar changes in arteries and arterioles are seen in individuals with chronic thrombotic microangiopathies. So it's about pathogenesis. Now come on to the morphology. It is very important because you have to narrate in your short notes of small contracted kidney. So gross features of the benign nephrosclerosis, obviously the kidney is symmetrical, right? Each kidney is weighed around 110 to 130 gram with surface of diffuse fine granularity. Here the key word is fine granularity, resembles grain leather. So with these features you can differentiate these previous two causes of small contracted kidney. The first features that symmetric, whether it is asymmetrical or symmetrical involvement. If asymmetrical, then it is definitely a cause of chronic pyelonephritis. But if symmetrical reduction of the kidney, then you have two causes like chronic glomerulonephritis and benign nephrosclerosis. Now, with the help of scar features, you can differentiate these symmetrical involvement of the kidney like two causes like chronic glomerulonephritis and benign nephrosclerosis. So with the help of granularity, whether if you see that there is a scar and there is a symmetrical reduction of the kidney and scar is V-shaped and it is granular, fine granular in appearance, then though it is a symmetrical involvement, the cause behind this symmetrical reduction of the kidney is of benign nephrosclerosis. If we talk about the microscopic features of the benign nephrosclerosis, the basic anatomic change is hyaline thickening of the walls of the small arteries and arterioles, known as hyaline arteriosclerosis. The key word is hyaline arteriosclerosis. These appears as homogeneous pink hyaline thickening at the expense of vessel lumina with loss of underlying cellular details. So there is a thickening of the basement membrane, right? Hyalinization, sclerosis means hardening of the vessels. And because of this hyalinized arteriosclerosis, the lumen is continuously narrows and there may be a changes of ischemia on the renal substance. The narrowing of the lumen results in marked decreased blood flow through the affected vessels and thus produce ischemia in the organ served. All structure of the kidney show ischemic atrophy. In advanced cases of benign nephrosclerosis, the glomerular tuft may become globally sclerosed, diffuse tubular atrophy and interstitial fibrosis are present. So here you will see that in advanced cases the glomerular tuft may become globally sclerosed and diffuse tubular atrophy and interstitial fibrosis are present. Often there is a scant interstitial lymphocytic infiltrate. But here, as compared to chronic pyelonephritis and chronic glomerulonephritis, the lymphocytic infiltrate is very less. The larger blood vessels shows reduplication of internal elastic lamina along with fibrous thickening of the media, which is also known as fibroelastic hyperplasia and the subintima. So there are two keywords, hyaline arteriosclerosis and fibroelastic hyperplasia, which is characteristically seen in case of benign nephrosclerosis, where there is a less infiltration of inflammatory infiltrate as compared to chronic pyelonephritis and chronic glomerulonephritis. Here, the main features which is differentiating from the chronic glomerulonephritis is hyaline arteriosclerosis, means thickening of the blood vessels, which is absent in case of chronic glomerulonephritis. Here you can see the high power, you can clearly see that there is a thickening of this arteriole, means hyaline depositions, mark thickening of the wall and narrowed lumen. Here you can see that very narrow lumen because of hyalinization and thickening of the vessels of the artery. Thank you very much. So it's all about small contracted kidney. So firstly, small contracted kidney is any kidney which is less than 12 into 6 into 3 centimeter in size and less than 150 gram in female and male and 125 or gram in female. So it is an introduction or definition of small contracted kidney. There are 6 causes of small contracted kidney. The main 3 causes: chronic glomerulonephritis, chronic pyelonephritis, and benign nephrosclerosis. With the involvement of the kidney, you can differentiate whether it is chronic pyelonephritis or chronic glomerulonephritis and benign nephrosclerosis, because asymmetrical involvement of the kidney is seen in the only in chronic pyelonephritis, while symmetrical involvement or symmetrical reduction is seen in chronic uh, glomerulonephritis and benign nephrosclerosis. Now, with other features, you can differentiate whether it is uh, chronic glomerulonephritis or chronic pyelonephritis or benign nephrosclerosis, like scar. If you see that irregular scar, uneven scar, and U-shaped scar, definitely a case of chronic pyelonephritis. If you see that with there is granular scar, V-shaped scar, there is symmetrical involvement, it is definitely a cause behind this is benign nephrosclerosis. Again, with the help of microscopy, you will differentiate it from chronic glomerulonephritis with the help of fibroelastic hyperplasia, means hyalinized sclerosis of the blood vessels. So it's all about small contracted kidney. I hope you like the lecture, you enjoy the lecture, and please give your feedback if you like the lecture. Thank you very much.